What up, AfterBuzzers? In a surprise season finale, we have so much to talk about in so little time, so stay tuned for the Sweet Vicious season finale after show.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AfterBuzz TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
The life I would be your girl. The one that got away, everybody. This is the Sweet Vicious After Show, and so much has gotten away in this episode. It's like, what happened? In another life, everything will be perfect and everyone will be happy and all these couples will be so cute, but I don't know if it's going to be the same anymore. I don't know what to do without this show. You know what I mean?
I know.
I'm
I'm
so heartbroken.
I'm so heartbroken. I'm so happy that this episode was 2 hours, though. I needed that.
I did. I needed that in my life.
My heart needed
I feel like
that.
they ripped the Band-Aid on us, though. Like, I thought we had, like, 2 separate episodes left, but it turned out we just had just one.
Yeah, and I feel like it was sprung on us. So thank you so much for joining us. I'm Ryann Graham. You can find me on Twitter at Ryan with 2 Instagram and on Instagram at Instagram. We have so much to talk about, but before we get to it, I want to introduce my lovely co-hosts.
Thanks for the send-off. I'm your host, Christine Alexis. You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Christine Bean.
Hey guys, I'm Renee Ariel, and you can follow me on Instagram and on Twitter at Renee Ariel.
Yes, well, yeah, I guess this is it for a while, so that's pretty sad. Thank you all for joining us, but it's kind of sad that we won't be, like, here for another couple weeks or a couple months, so we're gonna have to relish in this last show. And good thing we had so much going on, because like this episode was episodes. There were 2 really. It was nuts, right?
It was nuts. I
Oh,
loved it.
yeah.
I loved every moment of it.
It was really good. Let's just dive right in and break it down. I think we should break it down like by what the big chunks were. So I guess the least exciting. Well, no, not even, because it was exciting. The Carter case, which was kind of left open-ended in the end. We start with Tyler, we're filing the police report about his missing brother, which was kind of like a scandal. He tells Jules, and she's like, "Oh, I gotta go," and she gets up and runs to Ophelia, and is like, "Hey, so this is going down," and they like kick into like, "Let's cover up this murder," which like was scary to me, because I'm like, you two literally killed someone, and you're in love with this boy, and you're trying to like play him, and I'm like, how are you gonna do this dance of like being in love / oh, I killed your brother? Like, that was weird to me. Did anyone else feel like that was weird?
Yeah, I mean, Tyler is a champ. If someone was like, hey, let's grab dinner and talk about all of our feelings and what happened, and really, you just go over things. And then they left after maybe 2 minutes.
Right?
Yeah.
I'd be mad. I wouldn't be like, oh, first of all, I'd be like, no, she doesn't have kidney stones. It's not kidneys stones, it's kidney stones. Second of all, we set this up. Why are you leaving now? I need to talk about my dead brother.
She bailed after, like,
2 seconds.
0.5 seconds. Yeah. Seriously. I mean, honestly, I was kind of surprised that they didn't wrap up that loose end sooner. I felt like things started to level out, and maybe everything else got too crazy, and they just forgot to kind of like, hey, let's make sure that, you know, if Tyler ever decides to go back to this, that it's set. Because I think before this, the last place that it was left was, you know, the cops knew about the text messages. They couldn't really lock anything down. It seemed like there were no leads, but obviously everything comes full circle.
Yeah.
And now they had to just scramble to figure it out at the last minute.
Right. And it was so like just while I do love this show and I love the overall like the overarching storylines, this one was one that I was like, this felt rushed in the end. I was like, oh, okay, we're just kind of like, let's get rid of this, and it's like a big deal. Like this was
super big deal.
They murdered someone, and I just feel like it was kind of like, let's throw. Which I mean, it was kind of cool how they got away with it. Like the 2 girls were very smart about it. They ended up like sending a text message from the same area to the police while they have Nate's or Tyler's phone. It was really weird, and I was like, all right, but like, how is this working? Because you still committed a crime and you're just framing someone. Like, yes, this person is a terrible person, but like, you guys still did a terrible crime. And is that weird that I feel like they did the wrong thing? Like, I feel like, for those who maybe have missed that part of the episode, Jules and Ophelia end up framing a pedophile in the area for the murder.
A murderer.
The murder. Yes, okay, valid. He is a murderer. But what I'm saying is that
children.
Yes, I'm not defending him, but I'm saying that they are also murderers. And I'm like, so you were sure putting a terrible person away, and he should be put away, but at the end of the day, you still committed a terrible crime. And I don't know how I feel about it. it makes me feel something because I'm like, I don't feel like that's right.
But I think that's like the gray area with all of the rapists that we see in this show that committed a terrible crime and they don't get put away. They get what the Sweet Vicious team like brings upon them. So I guess for them, their punishment is their own guilt. I mean, Jules has to live with it every day, but we see all of these criminals everywhere that have not been punished for their terrible crime.
Yeah, I think that was their way of kind of serving karma on their own terms. Like, well, you know what? He was a bad guy anyway. He's, you know, he deserves to be here. Let's just make sure he gets his quicker by putting him to be, you know, at fault for all of this.
Are you?
I don't know. I know.
Ryan's like not with it.
No. I guess like part of me is still like stuck on like because he felt so random and so like, oh, we've literally never heard of this person before. Like, sure, you went briefly over the things he's done wrong. And I'm like, yes, I'm not defending him. That is not my point at all. I'm just saying, like, I feel like if you do something, I feel like at a lot of points in this show, every character who had done something wrong had come back to reconcile for it, own up to it, fess up to it, and be like, well, and this is like the one thing that I feel like no one is fessing up to. Like, I feel like at every point.
This season.
I agree with you on that,
yes,
and I think that's why.
Yes, and that's, I guess that's more so. I'm like, do we think that's because I'm like, I feel like that has to come back because I'm like, they've reconciled for so many things that they've done. Why is this the one thing that is just like, no, we're not
That's how
doing
they
it.
left the episode.
Yeah,
Like
true.
Tyler packing up everything from the warehouse and kind of walking away. I felt like that was so like foreshadowing. Like, we're gonna revisit this. This can't be the end of it.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
they cannot
totally.
have a relationship with that secret there. It's just
Right?
not possible.
I know.
Eventually, it will crash and burn.
I completely agree. However, I don't want to see either of them behind bars for the rest of their
Right.
lives. And I do think that this quick fix, I'm fine with it because I can't with like pedophiles
Yeah.
and
No,
people
yeah.
that hurt
I
children.
agree.
No.
Like for me that there's not even, it's not black. It's
no,
very
it's just
black
enough.
and
It's
white
like
for
you're
me.
done, yeah.
It's like you get him however
Yeah.
you can get him.
No, I that makes sense. I can agree with you there. It just, I guess, I'm like, him aside, I just feel like, oh.
You weren't a fan of the way the writers did that?
I don't even know if it's that. I guess, like, yes, because literally I'm like, but you guys did do something wrong. And I feel like the way you guys have handled all the other things you've done wrong, you've been very, like, at least at some point you've been like, hey, I effed up. I was wrong. And I feel like this is the one thing, and you're right, I do think it's intentional because I think that the writers want us to be, because I'm definitely like, we need another season. Especially just the way this was left open. But through this, we do get to see Tyler and Jules' relationship kind of come back to where we wanted it to be. And that was kind of cute to see him confide in her when he's like filing the police report, and then like they have this moment where they're like, I love you, and well, he says I love you, and then there was this long pause, and
I was like, is she not going to say it?
I thought she was going to kiss him and be like,
no, well, because I thought she wouldn't be able to say it because like, I killed your brother. Like, that's what, like, I feel like if he said that to me and I knew I killed his brother,
I know.
that would be on my mind. And I'm like, I wouldn't want to say that, so I would say nothing. So I didn't say that instead because I feel like I would be nervous.
Yeah, or she'd have like a Han Solo moment and be like, I know.
Yeah, I know. But no, I think that it was at least cute to see them kind of get back together and have this moment. But I feel like during this, we also see Jules be like, no, give the police your phone. Do you trust me? And I feel like if I were Tyler, and because he gets arrested, and like when they went to the sorority house, I was like, oh well, Jules she's done. Like I thought that they saw
my
her
gosh,
on the
me
security
too.
tape, so that was scary.
They kept mentioning the security tape. I'm like, oh
She's
man,
done.
like she had no mask over her mouth. I mean, it's not that hard to figure out who it is.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
you can see that on camera.
Right.
that threw me for a loop a little bit. Because when they bust through the door, like, I was like, Tyler? What?
Yeah, this was great.
I just didn't see that one coming.
Those are great curveballs by the writers because I didn't see. Like I was like, oh whoa, like they threw a lot of stuff this episode that I was like, I didn't expect it to happen that way. But it was cool to kind of see them kind of come back. But I was still like, Tyler, you're smarter than this. You blindly were like, okay, I'll give the police my phone, and then magically you are released because I get these texts and this guy is framed. And he kind of caught on for a second. He was like, wait, but why would this guy do it? And she goes, I don't know. You can never. So I agree. Maybe that. I mean, it seems like it's all setting up for season 2, but.
I
I'm just
did
not in anymore.
call him figuring
You
out
did.
at least,
You
I
did.
mean, a theory of it being the vigilante because it does make so much sense.
Yeah.
So at least we can give Tyler that credit. we can't give him credit for, I don't know, realizing that every time you bring up your dead brother, your girlfriend stops talking about it, changes the conversation, or just leaves abruptly.
Yeah, she squashed that so quickly.
So quick. She's like, oh, I made you wet.
Yeah. And lol. That is really funny. But yeah, and the way she did it, she's just talking, oh, sorry, I spilled this water on you. It felt very like...
That's only going to work so many times.
Yeah.
You can almost like, silly me, I'm such a klutz.
It felt, yeah.
Such a good sport, though.
And he just...
He's like, quick, say something about my nipples.
And I'm like, what?
It was such a weird scene.
That felt very weird to me. I was like,
So weird.
okay. But like, to me, I'm like, that would not be enough to distract me. I'm like, but I'm
I'd be
still
like,
talking
anyways, back to
to
my dead brother.
Yeah, my brother is actually dead. Like,
And how about when you're saying, trust me, do you trust me? Give them your phone. How about when your girlfriend is that persistent about
no,
something
bitch.
and then it gets you out? How about be
Oh,
like,
no, bitch, that's
did you have something to do with this? Even asking the question. You don't think that was sketchy at all, Tyler?
Let's not forget this. This is Tyler. Tyler who has like Jules Cupids running around his head
Sure
all day
does.
long. Jules can do no wrong. Jules is so vulnerable. I need to listen to her. She has my best interest at heart. I guarantee you that is what was going through Tyler's head the entire time.
he does have those rose-colored glasses where he's
Oh,
just like,
big
she
time.
can't do anything
They
wrong.
show up to have a conversation. He starts
leaves.
talking about himself. 5 seconds later, she's out. Like every single time.
Sorry, I have something else to do.
Like every time.
Yeah, but he's
walked
so
all
in
How do you
love.
not hate her by now?
I know, right?
Girl, listen to me. Like
He surprised her at her sorority house, shows up 2 minutes later. I actually do have to go.
Sorry.
oh my, that kills
Or
me.
and then the other thing is that Jules also is kind of like bitchy to him sometimes. Like when he shows up at the trial and like he defends her, Nate is talking all of this mess and like he punches Nate. I didn't expect you to defend me like that.
I
I'm
didn't
like,
like that
girl,
either.
what?
I did not like that.
I
are
didn't
you?
like that
Yeah.
either. And then she was so forgiving later on in her bedroom.
Special
How
word.
about be like, okay, I didn't love that you did that, but let's talk about that later because
Right.
today is more important than
Right.
worrying about that. Because he was defending you, and you know what? We all wanted to punch Nate in the face.
Well,
Yes,
100%.
thank you, Tyler.
Oh my God.
Seriously.
So
we
at
did.
least
That was
someone
the punch
did.
heard around the world.
Literally,
we all
we
were like,
thank
yes,
you.
Finally.
It was so weird. I don't think I appreciated the way Jules handled that situation in the slightest. Because it was like, get out. Like, how can you be so mean? Like, I don't know. She annoyed me in that scene. But,
Yeah.
you know, life goes on. But speaking of the trial, that was intense to see this episode. So we finally got to have this come to life. And I loved that Kennedy served Nate the papers. She goes, oh, this is a notification of your what is it, Title IX trial. I just wanted to hand these to you personally. I love that she finally got on board and was like, suck it, Nate. Because he was like ready to be like, oh, don't you forgive me? And like, she
Yeah.
wasn't having it. And I was like, finally, because I feel like she had been so blind to everything Nate said and did, and it was like she was just ready to eat out of the palm of his hands, and it's like finally she stood up for herself, and we really saw her character blossom into this like phoenix of like, yeah, you know what, I'm gonna focus on me, and I loved seeing that in Kennedy.
Yeah, I actually really liked Kennedy these 2 episodes. I mean, to be honest, I liked her the end of last episode as well because finally she's like, oh my gosh, I've been a bad friend and haven't been listening or trusting you, etc. So it was very nice to see her vulnerable, but also like in attack mode, like ready to be like, suck it, Nate. Like, yeah, we're gonna report you. And I loved that. It was just badass. We got to see their friendship, which I really enjoyed because we have not seen Jules and Kennedy being real friends this whole season pretty much.
Up until maybe that scene in the library where she
Yeah.
finally like was like, okay, I'm wrong, you know.
Right.
And was really vulnerable in that moment.
Yeah.
It was definitely a beautiful moment to see, and it finally gave Jules the push she needed to bring this to the campus, and so they start to have their actual trial. And was anyone annoyed by the questions that she was being asked, like the way they were talking to
So
her
annoyed.
versus the way they were talking to Nate? I was like, what is this about? Like,
That's why I was even more surprised by how the trial ended up.
Oh, yeah.
Because considering how they were setting up all these like very victim blaming questions and questions that to me just set it up to hush the situation again. Like, well, what were your intentions? You went up in his room alone. You know, like
Were you
just
drunk?
Were you drunk? And
I've never seen a CEO dressed that way.
oh
I'm like,
god,
also-
that was the most freaking sexist comment ever. Like,
it's so annoying.
Yeah, asking were you drunk should not be a question that would work against you.
Yeah.
exactly.
That is rape. If someone is drunk, if someone is intoxicated and you have sex with them, they are not able to give consent.
Right.
That is part of it. So I don't know why that question was asked in a way that it was like, were you drunk? Oh, you went up to sleep in his room because you could barely walk and you asked to take a nap in your friend's bed?
Right.
Yeah, and I thought it was crazy that she asked, like, did you tell him to stop? She's like, I just told you that
Yeah,
I
I
told
did. It's
him
like, are you
no.
listening? Yeah.
It's insane. Like, I felt her frustration so deeply in that scene because it's almost incredulous. Like, are you really asking me that right now? Like, I just
Literally
told you
said
that.
this.
But I think what they were trying to tell us, because clearly, okay, I'm not a huge fan of the woman that what is it?
She was like she's a dean or something.
Yeah, I don't like the woman because that whole scene when she was originally going to her, told the story, I just did not like the woman's response to it. But I did really like the guy. What's his name? Do we know the guy's name?
I don't think I knew either of their names.
The prosecutor? Like, well, the people who were handling the Title IX case?
I think that they were just administrative faculty. I personally don't remember their names.
But I really liked the guy a lot because I think that the questions they were asking, as terrible and annoying as they were, I think that's like the breakdown of what they do in these cases. Like just like maybe by that, just like that school, that's how they handle it. And that's probably not his decision or her decision, like exactly the questions. There's probably multiple people involved to like break down how to handle these cases. However, the man was very sympathetic, empathetic even when he was talking to her. Like he was humanized, which I liked that. Like it wasn't about how they felt about it. It was kind of like the process, which is a bit vicious, the process of it.
It is.
And then the unfortunate reality of it that someone can overpower even them and say, well, this isn't, I guess this is just thrown out the window now. Like it's not even about them anymore. And that's like the crazy part of it.
It's almost like they were doing like a good cop, bad cop thing, I guess.
Oh,
He was
yeah.
more of the
I
good
did
cop
get-
in
yeah.
that situation then.
That makes sense when you put it that way. And maybe just to kind of like, I don't like, to make sure that someone is not lying. Like, I don't believe that people lie about being sexually assaulted and or raped. And so, but I feel like I guess the possibility is there, and you do need to make sure that you are weeding that out. And so maybe they do that to see if they or shake someone up. But I don't know. It was just weird. And like, I think I also was annoyed by Nate's delusion. Like when he was talking, I was like, I cannot tell if you are like lying.
He was lying.
He was doing it
Because
really well.
Part of
too.
me feels like he wasn't lying.
No.
Part of me feels like in his mind he actually, I don't know.
The reason why I don't think so is because he said at the end when he was talking to his friend that, like, how was I supposed to? So maybe she didn't want you. Like, he kept kind of admitting it, and he knew. It was almost as if he was saying it like he knew. And not just because Jules came forward. It's kind of like he knew what he did was wrong, but only because he got punished for it. Like, he knew she maybe didn't want it, but he still maybe didn't see that as I raped her.
And that's what I'm saying. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
That's what I'm saying by like I think he's delusional. Like I think in his mind he like has built this persona. I mean, he even says I'm a god on this campus. Like I think he has built up this image of who he is and what that means. And it's like, yes, it's wrong, but like you're saying, it's wrong because I got punished. Like, I don't think he actually thinks that he did something wrong. Like, I think he's made it and that's what I mean. Like, I don't know if he's lying because I think he's legitimately delusional and is like, well, she wanted it anyway. I know she said no, but like deep down she wants it. Like,
I
and
think
like
that's
it's delusional. It's delusional. I don't know.
I think it's definitely key, especially considering the whole Shelby aspect when you put that into it. Like, I think that his response was just a product of the fact that he's been told that this is bad behavior before, and it seemed almost just like, I don't understand, like it wasn't really what it was, like just like Shelby, like it seems like obviously this isn't the first time he's been accused of something like this, and he's just over dealing with it. That's why I think he deludes himself to think like it's not really as big of a deal as everyone makes it seem. I got away with it one time already, and now you know, anytime a girl just gets drunk, and half the time they really want it anyway. Like you can see where his head is at, and like you're right, like he's built himself up to just believe that that's what it is because he's never actually been penalized for it until now, and that's why he's like unraveling the way that he is.
It just irked me to my spirit to hear him talk this way and just to have such entitlement. And it's like, I don't care what anybody says or wears or does. No means no. Yeah. If they're saying no, that is 100% no. I don't care if you slept with them before.
And if they're drunk.
Oh, yeah. No, 100%. Like, if they're drunk, don't even do it. Like, I mean, like, don't even, just don't do it. Because no, it's not worth it.
It
It's
was
really not
all
worth
of the
it.
things. I
Yeah,
mean,
like, all
she
of it.
was very, very intoxicated.
And she said no.
She said no. She, like, oh my gosh. I mean, for us, it's very black
Yeah.
and white. And it's just crazy to, I guess, meet a character like Nate that does kind of know it's wrong, but also doesn't really care and doesn't see it as wrong as it truly is and how everyone else sees it, because we all are empathetic people that understand.
Unfortunately, I guess not everyone, because his
Not
fraternity
everyone.
brothers were like right there fighting with
It
him.
comes from a place
And it
of
was,
privilege and ignorance.
Ignorance,
I'm
I was
sorry.
going
Like,
to
say
it's
that.
just so. It is very black and white. They don't believe that it is, but it is. It's
in reality.
Yes, in real
in
life,
reality.
like there's just no debating that. And I
Yeah.
think the way that this show showed how his frat brothers reacted and how Nate reacted just is so completely telling of that bubble that if you really put yourself in mentally and with who you surround yourself with, no one's gonna check you on what you're doing. Like Miles was the only person who was like, bro, like you.
And it even
That
took
was not
him some
cool.
time. He didn't immediately jump
Exactly.
there. It took him some time to realize that.
Yeah, and I think it was really great that he did eventually come around and help, because I think that speaks to what Jen was talking about when we had her on the show, how the show explores like, you know, guy friends taking accountability for what other guys do that's messed up and holding them accountable
Right.
for it and calling them out on it and joining that overall conversation of, you know, calling people out when they do things like that.
Right.
Yeah, I really liked, his name was Tim,
Tim, who
Was it
the best friend.
Miles.
thought it was Miles. Yeah,
That's
right?
Miles.
Miles.
Oh, Tim
Miles.
is-
Miles,
know.
I really liked Miles. I liked seeing his character a lot in this episode because when he was getting questioned, I loved his genuine reactions.
Yeah.
Like him kind of realizing, yeah, she was really drunk. She could barely walk. And then kind of processing. Like, I think after that day, it didn't hit him and didn't really hit anyone because it was not reported and no one brought it up again, kind of. Like, he never had to deal with it again. But once it becomes a reality, like, oh, this bad thing did happen and it is really wrong. And you're going through all these questions and you're like, oh my gosh,
Right.
my best friend
Did
raped
this.
Jules.
And, like,
and
and-
you're like, it's clicking.
And I think he also realized his part in it, because he realized
Yeah.
that he essentially sent Nate up there, but he was
didn't
like,
know what actually
He didn't know what
until
happened.
later.
And I also feel like he didn't realize that she was that, I think he knew she was drunk, but he didn't realize, like, because like when he was like, she was so drunk she couldn't walk. And I
Yeah.
think that is when it sunk in, like, oh,
Exactly.
I have some ownership
Yeah.
of this. Like, in that moment I should have realized that she was that drunk and should have never even thought to send Nate up, or even put the idea in his head, because it
Yeah.
wasn't okay. And it was great to see that in a friend who, like, may have once participated, that's the word, in such an activity, and to see them that they can grow and change, because it shows that everyone out there, that even if you unfortunately have been in a situation like that or have done wrong, it does not mean that you have to continue to do wrong, and it does not mean you have to keep your friends from being checked. Like, even if you
speak
in the
up.
past haven't said anything and it's happened before, that doesn't mean that it should continue to happen. And yeah, speak up, check it as soon as you see it again and you realize, like, oh, this is messed up.
Yeah, totally. But I really liked, like, Miles' character this episode. I thought was fantastic. Just like everything we explored with him, from the questioning to running into Ophelia, him confronting Nate, him
Yeah.
helping the vigilantes. Like, I really enjoyed that. It was nice having someone in the frat that wasn't just an ignorant
Right, a-hole.
ass. Yeah, I was gonna say.
You're gonna say it.
Like, that was really nice to see, and I really enjoy his character, and I think he did the actor did
A great
I think
job.
an incredible
Fantastic
job.
I think the other important part, like, is a big part of, I guess, Nate's verdict being overturned obviously had to do with the coach being involved and then inviting the dean. And because, like, when they had that conversation, I think that woke Miles up, was when he saw, like, the coach coming in and being like, don't worry about it, this will all be taken care of. It was like they weren't even worried, and I feel like it sunk in with Miles. And so when the verdict gets overturned, there's this huge like social media outcry, and we find out that Nate leaked like the documents or let the story out, and so Jules is just getting harassed on campus, and that's terrible. Like, it sucks that she had to go through this, then had to like gain the strength over a year to be like, okay, let me report this, and then once she finally tells her story and gets justice, then people want to attack her and call her a slut and just be horrible people, and then it gets overturned, and it's like, wow. Like, it sucks that happens to people, because I could not imagine. That's like you have been a victim 4 times, really. Like, you were just like, you cannot win, and it's like every time you finally get some strength, somebody somewhere is knocking you back down, and that I can't even imagine.
I hate that coach.
Oh yeah,
I hate him so much. You care more about football than someone who was attacked by someone on your team. Like that, like the game matters more to you. It's college football.
Literally.
Like, chill.
It's gonna be like really.
Oh my gosh,
matter.
get your priorities straight, coach. Are you kidding me? Do you have a daughter?
Like,
do you have a wife? Do you have a mother? Do you know any women?
Yeah.
And speaking of that, like, I guess, because like we also find out throughout the show, Harris was trying to get an internship with the district attorney, and she even alluded to the fact that like we get so many cases like this, and like the school brings in so much money that we just like, we don't want the school to have a bad name. So it sucks that it even goes outside of the university to the community that it's in, and then it sucks that as a woman she would even be like, this is okay because we're getting money from the school. I'm like, what? Like, you can relate to these victims on a different level. Like, she may have never have been a victim of sexual assault, but like woman to woman, I'm not a woman, so I can't fully understand. But I'm like, I could imagine that there's a connection that women have that should be deeper and more. I just don't get it. And maybe I'm speaking out of turn. How can I say
Money
this?
makes the blind see.
Yeah, right? But I mean, I guess. I don't know. But do you understand what I'm saying? Am I speaking out of turn by saying that?
It's the same thing where, like, I'm sure there's, like, a level of guy code where, like, yo, man to man, like, that's not cool.
Right. Like,
it's the same thing with women. Like, I mean, it should be human to human, period. Like, that should never be okay and be something that you should sweep under the rug.
But also, I mean, aside from just, like, it being, like, a gender thing, how about it being they're kids, pretty much. They're in college.
Yeah.
It's like, that. I mean, that woman could have easily had a child in college.
Yeah.
So why wouldn't that click like, oh, that could have been my daughter, that could have been my son? I mean, it just comes down to, like, being a decent human.
Right.
You know? And I get it's, like, the job, which is so terrible to say. Because it is their job to help. It is their job to, like, take care of these cases. But I love what the show does is they're making it realistic, because I am assuming this does happen in college towns because of the DA's office, because of the school making the money, etc. And I'm happy they, like, brought that into the light. They're bringing so many issues into the light, but it's just crazy to see and be like, this actually happens. Someone can look at all of these reports and kind of just
go, no,
blow them off.
I'm over it.
I think it's an interesting thing that I believe it was Evan who said when he was sitting and talking with Ophelia, opening up to her about the girl on his floor who was assaulted, and he said something like, you know, the school's so upset that they're vigilantes, and that's why they don't want her to report it, because then there'll be more cases like that. But don't they know that if they just took care of it, there wouldn't need to be a vigilante? To me, that applies to that scene with the DA's office, because she's saying, you know, they get so many cases like this, but if they actually dealt with maybe the first 2 and really came down hard in terms of consequence and making that due process of finding justice for these victims something that was more important than covering it up, I don't think it would be as big of a deal.
It's like they're worried about their image.
Yeah, there are still slimy, nasty guys out there who will do what they want regardless of fear of punishment. But I think if that was already in place, they wouldn't have as big of a problem as they did at the school and within the community if they actually took those cases seriously. Like, it makes perfect sense. Like, when he said that in that scene, I was like, duh. Like,
legitimate. It's
legitimate.
Like they're so worried about their image that they want to cover it up as opposed to actually handling it and being known as the school who tackled sexual assault.
The school wouldn't have an image problem then.
You would have a great image. You would be the school that dealt with it. You wouldn't be the school that, we have people who get assaulted on campus. You would be the school that saw a problem and fixed it. And then, like, to me, I'm like, that would be great PR. But I'm really annoyed by that. But, you know.
Yeah.
So since the school didn't want to do it, Jules and Ophelia were like, we're gonna take this into our own hands, and they devised this ultimate scheme to like take down Nate because it's like, you know what, he's gonna have to get what he deserves. So this in a long string of things, they frame the frat brothers and get them all kicked out, or what it appeared to be kicked out, and get Nate alone, and they're about to attack, and then like he's like, oh,
Well, not even that.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they do the whole.
well, yes,
They let everyone know. I love how they did it.
They
Because
did. It
they
was-
want to
yeah.
make that him like
Hashtag.
paranoid
did a lot.
AF.
That's so true.
Imagine waking up in the middle of the night
Oh, I
and
forgot about
looking on
that.
your floor and seeing Polaroid photos of you sleeping. What would you do?
Creepy.
What do you do? Here, I'm going to give it to you guys. You wake up in the middle of the night, look over, there's a bunch of Polaroids of you sleeping from that night, and you see sweet dreams written. Where do you go? What do you do? Who do you call?
I kill myself. I'm dead. I am 100%
Ghostbusters?
dead. I don't know. I'm like, no, that's terrifying. That is literally the scariest thing that I do, because I'm like, no, there's nowhere I would go. I would literally just be like, well, there's no point in living anymore. This is enough. I've had enough.
I would turn on all the lights, go to the bathroom, and call the police.
Well, yeah.
I would probably just run out screaming.
Now
Like,
I gave my
knowing
plan
me-
away.
Now they
Dang
know.
it.
Now they know. Now they know.
You guys want to know where Renee lives, so you
I
can
know, right?
sneak
So
in
you
her
can
room.
do
No,
this
I'm
to
just
her. No, you're right. I don't know why, because they did do a lot, and then they sent like text alerts to everyone on campus, being like, "We're watching you, Nate," or "We're coming for
put
you,
out an-
Nate."
like, almost like
yeah,
an Amber Alert, like,
the
emergency
iPhone emergency
alert.
It was an
messages.
Amber Alert,
That's
wasn't it?
exactly
Pretty
what it
much
was.
like the emergency. I think we only get that for weather and Amber Alerts, correct?
And apparently, if Nate
And
did something
presidential
wrong,
messages.
yeah, that is true. We do get presidential updates from that. But and then they attack the frat guys, and I just love that scene because it was so like classic. Like, because one of the directors for the show works with Quentin Tarantino, and it had such that vibe where it was like this massive fight scene, and it was just like kind of cool to see these girls kick these like, and even Harris was like, "You guys, there was 8 dudes," and
Yeah,
I'm like,
that was
Yeah.
it was so cool.
amazing.
That was
I
appropriate
loved
for the
that.
finale, like
It
the
was.
biggest takedown.
Yes, because you think in that moment, oh my gosh,
gonna
they're
give up.
screwed. How are they going to get through this? They're going to run. And I love that they look at each other and they're like,
"Oh well,
bring it.
yeah, let's do it." That was
That
scene
was a
just-
great scene.
that
Nate's
was-
face, he's like,
yeah, I loved it. It was
Such a punk.
Kicking butt.
After everyone left, he's up and he's like,
Yes.
I'm like, where are you
Little
going
loser.
with your hands like this?
I'm like, you just saw them take down
Just-
all of these guys. Get out. Like you're done.
Yeah, to all of our listeners who may not be watching, I'm just imitating Nate
yeah.
right now with his little boy hands. Like, no, come on, square
Get
up.
outta here.
Like,
he went down.
He did.
But he didn't have like a black eye or anything for the award
Because
ceremony.
I think he had to look pretty.
Movie magic?
Because they had a bigger plan for that. They just wanted to like rough him up a little bit. I think that they like the finale of what they did to him was even worse.
That was
Perfect.
amazing.
Yes.
Oh my gosh,
Best
again.
takedown.
I love you, Miles.
Yeah.
I love
Best
Miles.
takedown.
Good old
Coming
Miles.
through.
Oh, he had to sit there and listen to this disgusting conversation with Nate where he's like, "I'm a god. These girls all want me. Yada yada yada." And he had to sit there and be like, "Yeah, no, man. I guess.
I get it.
I know." Like,
it
he
was
had this-
crazy that he was doing coke, by the way.
Yeah. Wow. How much did that escalate? I was like, "Whoa."
This episode went from like beers and maybe weed occasionally to like straight up lines of coke
And I was like,
on a like
oh.
vicious rant. I was like,
I think it also shows that like you don't really know someone until you like really know someone. Kennedy didn't even really know him. I mean, to have that complex that he did,
Yeah.
that's not boyfriend material.
definitely not.
I just think it was so interesting to see how quickly, because I remember even like we've talked about it, like there were moments where we were like, maybe Nate isn't such a bad guy. Like, it was like, because we were like, I mean, if you take, I mean, obviously we knew what we knew, but I'm like, we could get how someone can be confused by him, because if you took away what we knew, he didn't seem that bad, and it was crazy to see just how bad he actually was. Because
Like his
honestly,
dark side.
Oh yeah, I was like, I was like, yes, he made a terrible, like, I don't even want to call it a mistake. Like, it was just effed up. I was like, maybe he's delusional, and I'm like, no, he's just a terrible person. Like there's no question about it anymore. Like,
Yeah,
he's
That's
just a
when
terrible
any
person.
benefit of the doubt like
Yeah, it was like, he's a
completely
terrible
went out
person.
the window. And that's just being generous by even saying benefit of the doubt. But
Yeah.
like you said, just
Terrible.
anything that you could think to give him a redeeming quality, it's like, no, you're just a piece of trash.
But you know, there are red flags, if we're being frank with you. Like, it could come across sweet. I think it comes across as a toxic relationship. I think
yeah.
if you tell someone that you need space and they keep showing up and kind of keep, I would almost call it stalking. If you show up with like the boombox and all that, and she thinks it's sweet, but at the same time, all she's been saying is, I really need space. I need space. I need to think about it. And someone's that forceful.
Controlling.
very controlling. I mean, those are red flags to me. Like, if someone's not listening to you and you're saying you need space over and over and over again, they don't respect you enough to give you that space. They're controlling, and maybe you need to like view that as a red flag. So there were like little red flags, but then we full on saw like the dark side of Nate tonight, which we've only seen like a little snippet of
when he grabbed her.
When he grabbed Kennedy, aside from of course the
thingy,
flashback. But he like little like spurts of it, but like this was full on
Like, oh, you're
how
a terrible
he
person.
thinks, how his mind works, and that's scary.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm glad that we got to see that, and it's just you can see the complexity of someone, and like even Kennedy said in what she was talking about, she's like, you need to look at your friend because he's not what you think, and like I don't know, I'm not saying don't trust your friends, but I'm just saying like if you see signs,
Pay
at least
attention to
pay
signs.
pay attention, and I mean to call someone on it, literally just check your friends. But so he's doing this like award ceremony, and he's like he calls the president an idiot, and the president is standing there about to award him, and then it cuts in, and it's like this rant about all this stuff, and it's like yes,
That
everyone
was
sees this.
amazing.
It was so good.
The
Because-
footage was great.
It was
So
wow.
great.
And it was like
The cinematography
shot
was like
perfectly
wow, what an
well.
angle.
HD camera. It was fantastic.
I was like wow.
I thought he was just recording him in like
both
a just a
audio.
little
like on
yeah,
the slide.
audio.
Yeah.
No, it was
So
great.
happy they brought it to the next level because what is he going to say? Well, actually, what he did say.
Yeah,
I
so
didn't say any
he
of that.
tried.
Really?
It was like
And they
literally.
caught him doing coke. Like that was the best part
Yeah,
to me. It's like this is really who you are.
Yeah, oh,
like,
yeah, you can't hide this
all
way.
types of ugly that you are. We just put it on tape for everyone to see.
And now everyone's going to know. This is what I love is no one's going to be alone with Nate because it really only would take a few people in that room to then talk about it with their friends, tweet about it, and then
Share.
everyone on the
And-
campus is going to know. That's how powerful
And they
it
had
is.
text popping up around their heads, and someone said this is streamed all across campus. Like it was in multiple buildings. Like it was like it was in one of the texts that popped up, so they didn't say it, but like everyone saw it on campus,
Good.
so it wasn't even just a room. So which was awesome, and it was great to see that happen because Nate got what he deserved because he's an asshole.
In the best, most
the best
public
way.
way.
Yeah.
Because he publicly tried to shame her with all of
did.
those, with releasing the trial
yeah.
information and that picture going around of Jules like I'm a slut. Like he had that coming and he deserved it.
And it's not even, I don't even think it's really like trying to shame him. He's just being himself and they caught it on camera.
That's true. Yeah,
So
it was like
true.
they didn't shame. He showed himself.
Like
He showed
they
his
made a
colors.
meme of Jules that like was just
Untrue,
mean and
yeah.
untrue
Disgusting.
and just not okay. But like literally they just taped what
Like,
he
yeah,
said,
you said
recorded
this.
it, put it up.
Like
There you go. This is you. Still want to give him that award? Don't think so.
And I guess the only, and it's not, I mean, it's a downside to this was that Kennedy had been going back and forth about how she felt about this. And so Jules, being the good friend that she is, was like, hey, I know something's going on with you. You loved Nate. Like, let's talk about it. And so Kennedy breaks down about it. And I personally couldn't relate. I was like, you literally just found out that your ex-boyfriend, like you already knew that he raped someone, but you heard him say terrible things. You know that he's raped multiple people. How can you even slightly feel bad? Like I feel like I can't relate.
I can. This was the most human I've seen Kennedy, I mean, aside from last episode, because it's not like their relationship didn't exist. It's not like they didn't sit in bed and talk to each other at night and text all the time and go on all these dates and think that you really know someone. For how long were they together?
At least a year. I
At
think it was
least
like
a
little over
year. Knowing someone for maybe a year or 2 years. No, I think it was just a little over a year or a year and a half. And thinking you really know someone and then having that image of them just get completely flipped. You don't just all of a sudden switch like a light bulb like, oh, they're bad. I have no emotions towards them. Like there's still that person you dated for a year and a half and you have all this guilt on top of that of like, I didn't know who I was dating and then I dated someone who I continued to date someone for a year that raped my best friend and I didn't know. I'm an idiot. But like I still miss who like I thought he was. Like all of these mixed emotions I'm sure you're having if this is someone you're in a serious relationship with.
I mean, oh, sorry.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say I'm totally with you on the fact that like I couldn't give Kennedy any sort of like anymore.
no.
But I will agree with you in that moment that I can see how the complexity of all those emotions could have her feeling kind of just unsure of what to do. I think that up until that point, I feel like she did come around and she did her part with Jules and with helping the whole situation. I think she is definitely, owed a moment to decompress.
And I guess I get how she could be upset with how Jules felt. And like that, I get that I would be sad about. But I feel like Nate as a person, I don't say you can be sad about it. I think
Because you-
angry,
I
sure.
think she's more
sad?
hurt.
I think she's just hurt. I think that's what it is.
I don't think
Okay.
she necessarily
she's
like
okay.
misses him because she found out who he was, but like it's not okay. You know when someone, if you've ever dated someone that does you wrong and you hate them for it, but a part of you will still miss like the way they made you feel before things were bad. You'll be angry, you'll be hurt, you'll feel, I mean, honestly, the anger comes from hurt regardless. Maybe you'll miss them sometimes because you miss when you watch movies on Sunday mornings.
Okay.
Like,
No, yeah,
things
that
like
makes
that.
sense.
So that's when I relate. And the reason I give Kennedy credit is because she didn't go up to Jules and say, I really need a friend right now and talk about the person who raped you. She
Valid.
never said that.
Yes.
She was trying to isolate
Valid.
herself to think about it because this is something she also has a right to process. But Jules, because she's a great friend, came up and was like, I want to be there for you because they're there for each other, which I appreciate. It's never that Kennedy shuts her down when she tries talking and vice versa. Like that open communication I think is important in any friendship. And I do think that Kennedy's breakdown, I mean, that makes sense to me a lot because relationships, it's not like the relationship just never happened and all of a sudden he was like a rapist. Like they went out for a long time and were in a serious relationship. And she knew a completely different person than what now we found out he is.
No, that makes sense.
The level of betrayal there just probably ran so deep that I think that's a lot of where her hurt stems from.
No, and I guess like when you put it in that's been it being more of a hurt as opposed to sad, I could definitely see how that can be frustrating, especially when you're bottling it up because you want to be a good friend. So okay, I will concede that. Like, I get how Kennedy, because at first I was like, Kennedy, get over it. I literally typed in my notes, get over it.
She took pride in like shaming him though. Like she was all into
did.
the
She was.
intimidation.
She
She was
was
like,
like,
yeah, get him. So
She tried to.
she definitely,
Set some stuff up. She was
got
there for
into
it.
it.
She tried to hold a front. She really tried to
she
keep
did.
it
Yeah.
going, and then the emotions came in because she's human.
Yeah. Well, and then like just to kind of like wrap up the rest of the season, because there was like the last like 5 minutes of the episode kind of tossed so much into us. We got to see Harris. He's like on board. He's like, I want to be your Charlie, and it's like,
That was the
"You're
best.
loved
I
that.
needed
It was
that
very
so
funny.
bad. That was so good.
But it's like she was like, no, you're Bosley, and I'm like, I mean, she's kind of right. He's totally like a Bosley. He's not like in charge of them. If anything, he's their sidekick. Like so that was kind of funny to see. Also, I love seeing Ophelia and Evan. Their relationship has been cute this whole time, and it was cool to kind of see them end on a positive note. So I'm happy for them. And then we also got to see. Unfortunately, I thought Nate would get kicked out, but apparently that's not a thing. Him and Landon. Landon was the guy who drove the get it like the Uber type thing.
The Uber type.
Yeah,
of,
he
Get in.
The get it. Yeah, that's what get in, which
so
sounds
creepy.
gross.
So
It
creepy.
is
I
creepy.
wouldn't get in.
I'm like, no thanks.
I'll
He
try.
attacks him, or like they're now about to be partners in crime, so that's kind of scary. And then we also see this random pink. What is it in the garage when
What
Nate
is
or Tyler
that?
is walking out? And I really don't know what it is. I'm like, I can't even think. I'm like, what could possibly be neon pink?
It's obviously
no one-
Jules.
Yeah, yes, it's got to be her. Jules. It's Jules. Maybe it is.
It also has to be hers because she has to own up to what happened. She's the one who's
Oh, yeah, that's
connected
not
to
gonna
It's
go
Tyler.
100% whatever it is, it belongs to Jules. And then this is just hinting at he's going to find out on his own before she tells him anything. Maybe not find out like, oh my God, I found this scarf. You killed my brother.
But he's gonna.
Police
something
are probably
else
going
is
to bring it to
It's
him.
going to. I mean, if you put pieces together, Tyler, it's gonna. Maybe it'll take one scarf for you to figure it all out.
How did the police not know that? How did they not find that one? I'm like, this thing is bright.
Oh, because they didn't come back. That was when they
you're
went
right.
and then they left. Remember?
You're right. Oh, and I guess forensics never came because then they found
Forensics came the next day to
and then,
show
and then by that point they found the footage of Tyler, and so they thought they found the
Right.
killer.
Yeah.
So you're right. That makes sense.
I mean, once you find the blood, you don't really need to keep. I mean, I guess
Yeah.
actually,
They were only
you
looking
that,
can-
to me, I'm
one
like, then you
thing.
search even more. I feel like if you saw blood, I'm like, well, let's wipe this. Let's literally top to bottom.
Oh, but then I guess when they found, Tyler's
that's probably
blood, then they just stopped their search. They didn't,
we
because that's
know
what they
who
do
did
once they have like a suspect.
they focus
They
on that.
focus on that.
Ridiculous. A missing person / possible murder
Right.
case, and you're just like, all right, we got this.
Yeah, let's run with it.
Let's
Hey,
just-
Guys,
go with
watch
this
Making a
conviction.
Murderer on Netflix. Check it.
Well, there you go. But no, and then we also see Sweet Vicious is like an official hashtag in the world of Sweet Vicious. Like, it
I
is
love
alive,
it.
too.
I like
so,
that
yeah,
too.
that's cool. And I was like, I hope that those are real tweets because some of them like were like they were just kind of like rooting on the idea of Sweet Vicious. I'm like, these could be tweets from like outside of the show that they inserted in, and I don't know. I would like to find out. Remember when Kennedy
yeah.
was like, I hope these
Yeah.
are like actual tweets about the show because that would be kind of cool. And then they build this website where women on campus can report and like, whoa, so you see they're like full effect, open for business, like Sweet
That's
Vicious
great.
is a thing. And it's cool to see that that's going to be.
I love how they set it up. It honestly, and Christine mentioned this earlier, that it could have been like a movie, like the way they started it, the way they ended it, because it was really like creating the creation of the vigilante, finding out why the original vigilante is doing what she's doing, and all of this. I felt like a movie. I mean, I enjoyed every minute of it. It could have easily been a 10-hour movie, and I would have watched it. But they really set it up quite nicely for a season 2, because now everything is so organized, and it is a new storyline, because now like people know about them, they're in the public eye. Like, this really does change things for the show and adds another element.
God, yeah, I'm curious to see what kind of element Nate and Landon add to it, because like, are you now gonna just like live in your shame of who you are and then like team up to do what exactly? Are you just gonna get revenge on these girls, or the school, like, who are you so butthurt and mad at because you're scum.
Also, so like,
so I'm really curious to see how they take on a new kind of identity within this world, this Sweet Vicious world, because Nate is now transitioning from, I mean, he's still the villain, but just like in a different way.
Like, yeah, he's an official villain now.
An official one, and he's living in his truth. Before, he just kept trying to front like he was okay.
But now everyone knows.
Everyone knows. Things are out there. Obviously, things need to come full circle with Tyler and Carter being missing, and and then I guess more of Harris's involvement now, which
I love it.
So here for.
Yeah, because he's working at the law firm now, so he can work a different legal aspect for them.
Yes,
so
that is going to be very interesting.
So, yeah, any last minute predictions? I think we have to wrap really soon, but I feel like we've covered so much.
Yeah, I mean,
Your AfterBuzz TV predictions.
I think we got into the predictions. I will say that I predict a lot of tweets tonight with hashtag renew Sweet Vicious, because we need a season 2, you guys.
We do.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's my prediction, is that we will get a season 2, and I just feel like something about season 2 says they're going to have this really cool on-campus talk show that features 3 amazing hosts. I don't know.
Yeah.
Part of me just feels
It's
like the
so
show
weird
needs
that. Like, I actually, I see that.
You know what I
like,
mean?
I
It
totally
just
see that.
feels like a thing that needs to happen for season 2. I don't know. I don't know who these hosts could be, but I just feel
They must
like.
really, really be invested in the whole concept of Sweet Vicious.
Exactly.
You should
They
follow
need
them
those
all
people.
on social media.
100%.
I can get you their handles in about 3 seconds.
Speaking of
we'll get
handles,
them.
I think what should those handles be? Let's say them.
Hey guys, you can follow me at Renee Ariel on Instagram and on Twitter.
And I've been your host all season long, Christine Alexis. You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Christine Bean. Please don't be shy. I know the show's over, but tweet me. I want to know what you guys think.
Awesome. And I'm Ryann Graham. You can find me on Twitter at Ryan with 2 N's Graham. Thank you guys so much for watching all season. Be sure to like, comment, and share this video. And also tweet about Sweet Vicious, because we definitely need a season 2, and we love talking about it with you guys.
Hashtag renew Sweet Vicious.
Awesome. And thank you guys so much. We will see you next season. Woo!
Bye.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.